welcome to another episode of Coder Conversations. It's Kevin.
This is TC. How's it going, man?
Man, not too bad, man. What you been up to?
Business. I've been pretty much just chilling for the holidays. I guess that's the best way to put it. Just chilling for the holidays, trying to get my head right for the new year, and trying to get focused.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what are you planning on getting focused on? You have like any specific goal you want to accomplish?
I'm trying to get back into the gym. I used to work out regularly, and a lot of I've been seeing online like a lot of people making fun of like work from home. Like they'll have like you going to work, like you have to like walk to the train or walk to the bus or whatever. Like people who work from home now they put on a couple of pounds, and I've kind of noticed like, man, I'm getting out of shape. Like coding, sitting on my butt all day.
Yeah.
Even like when it comes to like playing video games, right? Like the only time I get up to like go anywhere is if I have to go downstairs or go to my car and drive somewhere, and even then I'm still sitting. So it's like, man, like it's time to get back to the gym. So I picked up a weight set, and I've just been trying to do that regularly, and I'm gonna get back onto the whole interviewing grind again as well.
Yeah.
But it's like, after I kind of get my head right, that's my main focus, to like get more in shape, one, and two, like when I feel like I'm mentally ready to put myself under that stress again.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to take a break, man. It could beat you down, especially when you go like 4 or 5 rounds and
Yeah.
get to the last round and no thanks.
Yeah. No thanks. Yep. Exactly. What about you? Are you into New Year's resolutions? I don't know. I don't know if I asked you that.
Nah, not too much, man. I just keep, I always try to have goals throughout the year that, try to do, But yeah, I'm getting back into the interview grind as well. Yeah, because for whatever reason, it seems like a lot of companies are hiring and they're willing to pay pretty good. So, if I can take that next step, why not?
Yeah.
A lot of the roles are offering something like, like in the 170, 180K range and up. So, like, why not shoot for it?
Right. Do you feel like it's time to move on from where you're at now, or?
I mean, like, I'm not like actively just trying to get out of, it's more so recruiters hitting me up and saying, oh, look, this is what we have.
Right.
And, I would keep on turning them down over and over. Like, oh, no, let me just stay here. But at a certain point, it's like, is that smart? Like, if they're offering me opportunities for significantly better money to do the same thing, like, why should I stay at the same company? You know what I mean?
Right. I hear you.
Like, if they're offering you something, like 40K more to do what you're doing now, does it make sense for you to stick at your current company?
No, I mean, unless like, then it comes down to culture, right? Because if you're comfortable where you are, I would say, you have to consider that maybe the culture at this next company might not match. It might not be the same, right? Like, you could go from working 8 hours to 12 hours. But that's that coin flip, right? There's no way for you to really tell unless you jump into it.
Yeah. I mean, that's true, man. But I feel like it might as well take the risk and see what's up, man. Because I've been here at the company I'm at for like 2 years, kind of like on contract, and they haven't really raised my rate or anything. Maybe that's up to me to negotiate, but
right.
If I can get, and honestly, I haven't taken a vacation in years, so if I can get 40K more, if I can get like a month of vacation time, all these benefits, I'll be stupid this time. Yeah,
right.
But a lot of these jobs, there are React jobs, so I'm having to pick that back again.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, React is cool.
Isn't that what you've been studying, React?
Yeah, I've been messing around with React. I got a couple projects that I'm about to pick back up. come January, I actually want to start like I've seen a lot of posts on LinkedIn where they'll post like like CSS tips or JavaScript tips. I want to see if I can get into the space of posting like React tips as well
Yeah,
as like JS tips, right? Because they go hand in hand, and even like TypeScript, but more so
right,
like talk about okay, what are the lifecycle methods? What are like how do you use memoization with a component? What's a pure component versus a regular component, right? Like all those little things that maybe somebody might not know, or they may need just a refresher of like, here's the top three things you need to know about lifecycle methods, right?
right,
Maybe not just specifically for interviews, but just to just know.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's. I feel like I need to get back into it, man, because I've been doing Angular all this time, so I need to step my React skills back up. Uh, it's but at the end of the day, they're pretty similar, so it's not like
Yeah.
I'm having to learn something completely different.
Right.
And
Right.
I've
Yeah.
actually did React a couple of years ago, so I think like where I would trip up is if they ask like some super specific,
Yeah.
uh,
The,
you know,
yeah. It's something like super like granular, like
right,
how do you use hooks, or how do you use a higher order component? Like it's something like far left or far right, like that's like way out
right,
there, right? But I say like, yeah, man, just go through the documentation and just like build like a pet application, and you'll start to see like how everything like works together.
yeah. I've actually been building an application with Selenium and Selenium, React, and Electron.
Nice.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
like an application for our church. They got all these different pages, and
Hmm.
like right now they're manually going through each page looking for broken links and broken images and all of that. And
Mm,
that's super time consuming. So
right.
why not like have an automated process to where okay, the program will go to all these links and send a request to them and see if it gets back a 200. So
Right. Yeah, I can see that. That's a lot of requests, but yeah, you could do it that way. It's almost
I
like,
mean, like when you click the link, you're sending a request anyways. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Okay. That'll work. Are they
Yeah,
built
I
on
mean,
React, or is that uh
uh, it's actually built on Selenium. Like it'll,
no,
you
but
know,
I'm
what
saying
Selenium is?
the website for the website for your church.
Selenium is actually the like browser automation software. Like it's what a lot of testers use to do the end-to-end testing.
Right.
So it kind of pops open a brand new browser, and then you can emulate stuff like clicking links or putting
Oh,
data in forms and all of that.
yeah. Okay.
So if you're into like web scraping and stuff like that, I can see that being used. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
go to this
Yeah.
website, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've also been getting into like 3JS. Kind of want to have something that really differentiates me. Like everybody on LinkedIn is like a React or Angular guru. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to stand out. I hear you.
Right. So I know you was really doing the video thing. How's that been going?
Really took a pause on it. I mean, like, uh, I'm behind 2 weeks now, possibly three, but I don't feel bad about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I think this is what my brain kind of needed, is to
Yeah.
uh, just take a break and
Yeah.
uh, like know when you're like, it's almost like when you're driving a car, like you want to keep your engine like in between the C and the H. You don't want to get to H, and like I
Right. Right.
wasn't paying attention to my body, and I wasn't paying attention to my mind, and uh, I was really hitting like the I was running my engine hot essentially, and man, I wasn't performing the way I would have liked. Like I wasn't enjoying the process. It was like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna do this, and this is what I'm gonna do, and it was like I was just forcing myself to do it, and
right.
I told myself like, hey, I'm not enjoying this. Let me just pause, take a break, like take a month off, and then come back in January,
Yeah,
like refreshed, like
yeah,
like
man. You don't want to get burnt out.
hmm yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, like I have a game plan and I'm gonna follow it, but it's just I want to give myself like plenty of time to just breathe and to just live, I guess you could say.
Man, I think that's a big problem in the industry. People feel guilty for taking breaks. It's like, oh man, I'm getting behind on my studies. Maybe, I guess they always feel like they're competing against somebody. If they're not always studying, they're not
Yeah,
gonna have the skills to get ahead.
right. And I think it's more so like I think when people see like posts online like, oh, I just pushed this new feature, or oh, I just did this, or oh, I just
Yeah,
did that, or I've solved this really hard lead code problem. It's like, man, like you're we could there's two reactions that you could have towards that type of like post, right? It's like, okay, positive or negative. The positive
right,
side of it could be like, oh yeah, that's great, good job, right, and then move on. But then like the negative
right,
side is like, man, should I be, this guy's a tech lead at Meta or whatever, and like, man, like I want to get like him, and and if he's here at 3 years of experience or 4 years of experience, man, like how come I'm not there?
mm,
I've got 2.5 or almost 3 years. Like, am I
right,
behind? Or you start comparing yourself. So that's the negative
yeah,
side of it, right? So it's like, the same thing goes with like lifting weights, right? Like you could compare yourself to somebody else who may have the same amount of experience or whatever, but you don't understand, like their whole routine could be different. They could just be built differently, quote unquote, where
right, yeah,
the way that they've studied, or the way that they they their routine is set up could be completely different than how you function. So yeah, you don't want
right.
to get into comparing. You don't want to get into comparing. That'll definitely like mess with your head.
Yep. Yeah, you don't really get anything out of comparing yourself to others. It's just you're beating yourself up. You get
Yeah.
yourself more and more depressed, and
Mm-hmm.
you study even less because it's like, I'm way behind. I might as
Yep.
well do something else.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's for yourself, and I think when I say self, well, the topic I'm sort of heading towards is more so like it's self improvement. It's about your if you feel like you're making progress on this journey as a developer, or as this journey as a person, I guess you could say, like then you're fine. It's only when I feel like one should only feel like they're falling behind if 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 you're in a situation and you know you should be studying and you're not studying, or if you know you
right,
should be doing something and you're deliberately not doing it, then that's a red flag. Like
right,
it's not so much like I'm not gonna look at Kobe on the court at 5 a.m. Like, damn, I need to be on the court at 5 a.m. Like, no, if my
right,
time on the court is at 7 and his is at 5, doesn't matter what time you get into the gym as long as you put in the hours.
right. Yeah, man, that's a big thing in this industry, mental health and avoiding burnout. So you need to take a couple of weeks off, just play games and
Yeah.
relax. By all means, do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to talk about is like to stick with the topic of self improvement, right? It's more uh, like setting goals and like New Year's resolutions, like the New Year's coming around. I guess you could say the New Year's coming around. A lot of people are going to set these New Year's resolutions. I'm guilty of it as well, where I would say, oh, I'm going to do 2 leak code problems a day, or I'm going to go to the gym at 6 in the morning, come
Yeah,
home, do this, do that. Like, this is going to be my routine for the next 6 months, right? and then you get into that habit of like, oh, I'm gonna put it on my Instagram page, I'm gonna put it on my link, I'm gonna put it on my Facebook page or LinkedIn or whatever, I'm gonna tweet about it. And
Yeah.
like I've learned personally, and I want your opinion on this. Like, it's easier to just do it and then talk about the results when you get the results. Don't talk about your goal beforehand, because it's almost like it's less likely to happen.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even set like hard goals. Like, well, I tried to do the little 30-day challenge, but
Right, right.
it's hard to do
Hmm.
one graphic and one video a day for 30
Yeah,
days. You know what I mean? I did it for 10 days, but it's like it starts getting overwhelming. So, I
hmm,
don't feel guilty about it, but hard goals, they don't really work for me. I kind of look at it now like as long as I'm doing something productive, like in the area
right.
that I want to improve in, I'm good. Like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, I did, such and such push-ups a day. I
right.
studied web design, graphic design, and
Hmm,
then hey, I'm getting better every day. Ain't that the point? You know what I mean?
hmm. Yeah,
So yeah, I would say like don't focus on these like hard goals because you start making this process almost like a second job where like you start dreading like okay I got off of work now I have to read 20 pages of this book I don't really feel like
right,
reading right now or I
right.
didn't read right now I feel bad like you know what I mean like I know you got like a few different things you want to do. Like you want to work out, you want to get better at certain programming subjects.
Yeah,
Just make sure you do a little every day, and whatever it is, sometimes you got to mix it up. Like
right.
today, I might not feel like studying React, so I'm gonna just focus on working out more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, it's more so a matter of building up to it, I guess you could say, right? Because if again, if you look at the final result of whoever it is that you're comparing yourself to, or if you if you take that point of view, I guess you could say, of excuse me, I guess like if I was to look at somebody that had the results that I wanted and say, how did they get here, and assume that I needed to hustle to get there, to try and catch up, instead of just taking my sweet time and taking it step by step, uh,
Mhm.
you're gonna hit that wall. You're gonna hit that.
Yeah,
You're gonna hit H very very quickly, because it's that shift, right? It's that shift of here's where you are, here's your work ethic, and here's your life right now, and then you completely do a 180, trying to be something that you haven't been for the past year or so, or
mhm.
whatever amount of time you want to compare, right? Doing that 180 isn't going to like totally change everything, right? It's going to take time to gradually get there, whether it's working out or changing eating habits or whatever. It's going to take time to get there.
Right. Yeah, man. And really, why do we even spend all this time comparing ourselves to others? You know what I mean? I know obviously there's the competitive element of the
Right,
industry. Like you're competing against somebody for a job at a particular point in time, but once you
right,
get the job, who are we really trying to compete against, and what do we win for so-called beating them? You know,
right.
I've been in competition with in my mind against all these people, but
Yeah,
once you switch jobs, you don't even think about all the your coworkers and old coworkers like that.
right. No, I hear you, and I think that's where like being mindful comes into play. There's definitely times where like I meditate, right, or I used to meditate regularly, and now not so much, and I'm definitely going to pick it back up. But I can tell the difference when I'm more mindful, meaning less responsive to the impulses of like, I want to do this, or I'm hungry, so therefore I'm going to eat, right? Or if I have an
Yeah.
impulse of just like uh, of just doing anything like sporadically, right, and reacting to it instead of acknowledging this feeling, right? If you're feeling inadequate, why do you feel inadequate? Don't immediately get depressed because of the feeling of inadequacy, right? Just
Mhm.
understand where it's coming from, figure that out, and then almost like digest it instead of letting it stew. And I think being mindful of when you're comparing yourself to somebody else, or when you're feeling like you're falling behind, like why do you feel that way? Why are you
Right.
comparing? And then once you find that why, like then keep asking why until you reach the seed of the true reason of the why, and either respond to that or discard it. Because sometimes, in some cases, what we're comparing to is something that is just not uh almost either a not tangible, or just something that's just not, that doesn't pertain to us, I guess you could say. Like social media, for example, right? Like, yeah, I could go on social media and I can see images of these mountains and people, and they're on vacation, and they look like they have the perfect life. But in reality, that's just a snapshot of a moment in an in a 24-hour window, right?
Right.
I don't know what their day was like. It could be real, it could not be real. But if I compare myself to that, of, of course, or I guess maybe not of course, but if I consistently compare myself to what I see on a phone or online, I could uh, feel bad about myself. It doesn't. I'm not surprised that I would feel bad about myself if I was consistently comparing myself to something that may or may not be 100% real.
Yeah, and you don't. The problem with like comparing yourself is there always has to be a winner or and a loser. Like
Right.
this guy, you're better than this guy, and he's worse
Mm,
than you, or he's better
yeah.
than you. So somebody always has to feel bad in that paradigm. Like why
Right.
not just enjoy where you're at and just enjoy making progress? That's kind of like the mindset I had to adapt because
Hmm.
if you're all if everything is about beating somebody, then you're never gonna feel satisfied. You know that the tennis star, I think it was Naomi Osaka.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I remember her from a couple of years ago.
Black and Japanese
Hmm.
female tennis star. She pretty much say like she doesn't even enjoy the game. Like she don't really get joy from winning. It's just more like a sense of relief. Like okay, I beat this person.
Mm,
And I'm kind of feeling like that's why she's kind of stepped away from the game a bit because it's starting to tax her mentally.
right.
And
Yeah. There's
like,
no enjoyment in the game. You're only focusing on the end result. Oh
right,
my god! Wow, wow. That just sorry, it just hit me. I wish I had this book. So something just hit me right now where I'm reading this book. It's called uh, The Will to Keep Winning, I believe it's called.
hmm
Um, the Will to Keep Winning by, yeah. So it's called The Will to Keep Winning by Daigo Umehara. And so Daigo Umehara, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him or not. He's a pro fighting game player.
right,
I'm really big into like fighting games like Street Fighter and Tekken. Um, I used to like go to like video game tournaments and compete and stuff. And um, so like I decided to like pick up this book. And one portion of this book that he talks about how if you're only focused on the outcome, right, you're gonna plateau, right?
yeah,
Because you're limiting yourself, and the choices that you make by what's right and what's wrong, and not following your gut.
right,
And when you talked about like what's her name, Miss Osaka,
yeah, yeah,
um, it totally like brought me back to that where it's like if you're only focused on the end result, if you're only focused on getting the job, if you're only focused on having the
mm,
title of software engineer at Fang, right?
right,
If you just focus on that and you're not focusing on what did I learn in this interview, what did I learn in this problem that I couldn't solve, like what's the lesson here. If you're not taking away the lesson, you're not going to grow, and if you're not going to grow, you're gonna hit that plateau, and until you learn to grow, that plateau is always going to be there. Wow,
Yeah,
that was interesting.
yeah,
Sounds
man.
like a brain blast.
If you're always comparing yourself, man, you're never gonna be happy. Like, so you
Mhm.
beat this one guy, then here's the next guy that you need to
Yep,
beat.
yep. It's like Dragon Ball Z. Like there's always going to be that next, like, where's the next evolution? Where's the next bad guy that I need to fight? Like,
Exactly,
where's the next tournament that I need to fight in? Like, there's always going to be that next.
exactly.
Um, yeah,
Like, even in the Bible, it says like learn to be content. So it's something that you have to learn. Like, okay, I've got enough. Like
yeah,
if you think about it, like you're probably the only African American guy that that's a code in your company, or maybe
yeah.
like one
No,
other. In my company,
uh,
I know one other guy that's black. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So the point I'm making is like we're already in so-called like rare company just being in the industry in the first place. So, how far do we have to go to just be, so-called happy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how elite do we have to be? I always enjoy making progress, but like, am I gonna sacrifice my happiness to just continually chase these titles? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. No, I hear you.
And that kind of makes me think, about our culture, man. It's like it's hard to, be successful in the first place because there's so many different roadblocks out there. Like, recently another rapper got killed,
Hmm.
Draco the Ruler.
Yeah, yeah. I saw about that. I saw that this morning. I think he got stabbed.
Right.
See if TMZ has an article on him. I'm gonna look him up right now. Um,
He got stabbed at the backstage of his own concert.
yeah, he got stabbed at festival. Snoop Dogg response. That's crazy. Sad
That's in
wedding has
your
expired.
backyard, LA.
Yeah.
People are wilding out over there, man. What's going on?
It's not even summer. I can't even blame it on summer heat. Man, yeah, man. But
Well, yeah.
I think that's crazy. Where it's like last week they were saying like, "Oh, bro, I just saw you last week. I can't believe you're gone." And it's
Right,
like it's crazy how like things like that can change, in the blink of an eye. Like, I would say, as far let me take it back to like the whole black community thing. It's like, uh, everybody has their upbringings. Everybody has the things that they do, or the experiences that they have growing up, right? And uh, the things that you do affect other people, obviously, whether we know it or not, right? The interaction that I have with somebody at the at a store could affect their whole day.
right,
The people that everybody that I pass by, even though I might not directly interact with them. They see my car as they're passing by. Um, they might cross the street and we might pass each other. They might pass in front of my car. So the whole point I'm trying to make is like there's those little things that we do that we may or may not know that affect somebody else, and the lifestyles that we could possibly live, uh, growing up, in impoverished neighborhoods, meaning like poor neighborhoods, whether it's like selling drugs or being associated with the wrong type of people who may have their own problems, right?
right,
That their problems become your problems. So it's like those things can and most likely will catch up to you if you don't separate yourself from that lifestyle at an early age. Because once you get in, there's like there's really only one way out. Like, yeah,
right,
you could totally like separate yourself. Let's say you become a rapper, you make a ton of money, and then you just leave the hood completely and you go live in the suburbs, right? You could totally do that, but
right.
think stopping the only at that point, the only thing that's stopping somebody from your past catching up to you, if you have that type of background, is distance, right?
Right.
But I would say like be conscious of what you do as a kid because or as a young adult because it can and will catch up to you. And
Right.
if, to me, it's like how do we get out of that lifestyle before we even get in?
I think we gotta change the mentality, man. It's kind of like one of the reasons that I wanted to start this podcast. Like, give these kids, something different that they can see. Like, oh, okay,
Right,
you can be black and be a programmer or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
and just put out a different mindset because have you ever heard that term like go outside? Like, oh, you don't go outside, or you haven't stepped out before,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's pretty much celebrating going in the streets. Like, oh, you're not in the streets, you're not out here,
Hmm.
engaged
Yeah,
in these street activities. But
yeah.
the only thing I've seen from people that go outside is either they get locked up or they get killed. So you
Right.
know, why is that celebrated so much in our community? And that's like one of the important things that I want to talk about in this podcast. Like, you don't have to do that. Like, there's so many avenues for you to make money now. People are literally making millions of dollars on YouTube opening boxes, like
Right.
unpackaging stuff.
Yeah.
So, you
Uh,
know,
but I think it's different now than it was back then, right? Like the how old was Draco? He was
in
let's
the
see, how old
20s,
he
I
was.
believe.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, man. Slim Forums were fairly young, probably like 20s, maybe early 30s at the most.
33.
33, okay.
Yeah. And then Nipsey Hustle was
I think he was in his 30s as well.
33 also. That's crazy. I just want let
Right.
me make it to 34, please.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I think like at that age you should be established in your career, man. Like, and these guys were like,
they were. They
Nipsey,
were though.
yeah, he was trying to do something positive in this community, but he got killed in this community. That's what's so crazy about it.
Yeah.
Like, Draco got stabbed at the backstage of his own show. So it's kind of like,
How
the
does
gangs. It kind of follows you around unless you get out of your city.
right? It'll follow you. Yeah, man. Have you seen the
But
show called Ozark?
no, I've never seen it.
It's about this Caucasian family and they're money launderers for the cartel. And and you kind of see like from season 1 to it'll be season 4 in January of next year. Um you kind of see as the seasons progress how deeper they get into the lifestyle. Like once, in season 1 they were like, okay, we just need to launder X amount of dollars and then we'll
Right,
be out. We'll be out of the game. We'll leave. And then like season 2 progresses in season 3, and once they get into season 3, it's like, okay, the husband wants to distance himself from this lifestyle and go legitimate. The mom wants to just hunker down and hey, we're in this lifestyle. Let's just stay within
right,
this lifestyle. And it's interesting how like just thinking about like Nipsey Hussle and all these other people who have passed away who may have something established where it's like, okay, they're doing something for their community, they're trying to grow, they're trying to establish wealth and run black owned businesses, but uh you're too deep. It's almost like you're trying to raise up a house that's underwater, but
right,
you got to stand in the mud to be able to lift up the house. But then people come by and they're like they want to kick you behind your knees
right.
and make you fall.
And like what I think about, sometimes we gotta stop worrying about impressing the so-called hood, the so-called people from where we came from, and you gotta uh, do what's safe for you. You know what I mean? He has a family. You know, these guys got families to take care of. That's more important than what your if your homeboy thinks you sold out. Like if you're in a dangerous neighborhood, move out and don't. You know, you can come and pitch back like, hey, here's some money. I'll
Mm-hmm.
open a community center, but I'm not going to be there every day because you know if I get killed, who's going to take care of my family?
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you, man.
Like, you know,
Peace out.
why does no other race have to go back to their, like, if a white guy made it out of the trailer park, for example, like, why does he have to go back there? Like, no, he's free to, you know, to progress and live a new life. It's not like, oh man, you left us behind. Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
he got out, he made progress, and people congratulate him from that. But for whatever reason, we have to, you know, go back to our old neighborhoods and stay in dangerous situations, you know.
Yeah. It, do you think that? I guess. Do you think that? Do you think that it's how deep do you think it's embedded in our culture at this point?
I
Like,
mean, I think it's quite deep. Like Lil Boosie even said, like, you know, the where most rappers get killed is their own city. You know, what happens
mm-hmm,
is you start getting successful, and then you know, these guys, their ladies always talking about you. You know what I mean? And it
mm-hmm,
makes them jealous. You know, they see you riding by looking good, they get jealous. You know, and they want to kill you. You know what I mean? And like with the whole Nipsey thing, I think it was slightly different, but you know, he's around, you know, his gang members, and in the gang lifestyle, let's just be honest, like it's very dangerous. It just takes one thing to set one of these guys off, and they'll kill you. And it
right.
doesn't even have to be a different gang. It's a lot of times it's the same gang. Like Raymond Washington, the founder of the Crips, he got killed by a Crip, right? Nipsey, he got killed by his own set. You
Did
know,
he?
yeah, he got killed by Rolling 60.
I didn't know that. Dang.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. It's like
Yeah.
if you have to make moves to for your safety, do it. You know what I mean? Like if people call you a coward or whatever, it's you know, being a coward and being alive is better than being a face on a t-shirt. That's how I look
Yeah.
at it.
That's that's word. That's word right there. I hear you.
Like I know you lived in LA, so you face more of the gang stuff than me.
Yeah. You I wouldn't say you get desensitized to it, but you definitely. It's almost like, okay, yeah, there's tags. Okay, IFG tags over here. Latin Kings tags over here. Okay, I can't wear this color here. I can't, walk on this side of the street over here, or I can't do this. I can't do certain things after, this hour over here. Like you
Right,
understand the city, and you understand the, I guess you could say, the messages, or what's not necessary, what's spoken, but what's not spoken at the same time.
right,
Um, or like, or even growing up, I've had cousins that would tell me like, okay, don't go to that burger place right there, don't go there because of so and so and so and so. Okay, cool,
right,
I may not go there. And and I've also heard, stories of like, of older people who were involved in, gang activity, and their rival gangs would go to the school of one of their siblings and then kill the sibling as a
right.
message to somebody else.
Yeah,
So it's like, again, like I had mentioned, it's like the things that you do affect other people, regardless of whether you
right,
know that they affect that person directly or not. And yeah, man, it's just crazy. It's crazy. But I don't want to say like there's gang activity all the
mhm,
time, all day, every day in broad daylight, because that's not true. But there's definitely things that you pick up on and you notice, like living in LA.
right, right. Yeah, you know, I've never lived in like the hood, like you know, a super hood or anything. But
Right.
you know, during the '90s when it was popular, there was like gang banging in our city. But it's
Mm,
pretty much like it's something that you have to look for. Like if you want it, it's there. You know what I
right.
mean? But I think a lot of people fall into it because maybe they don't have like the father figure or somebody to say, "Hey, don't do that." Like this is where it leads to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because when
Right.
you're young, it looks cool. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, these guys are getting all the women, they're getting all this respect. But somebody
Right.
has to kind of tell you, like, no, that ends up in prison. No,
Mm-hmm.
you get yourself killed. You get your family members killed. So leave it alone.
Right. But it takes too long though. I think everybody wants things now. Like they see
Yeah.
the flashy cars and they want the jewelry, they want the shoes, they want the cars, they want the girls, they want that now. There's no they don't want the to take the
The delayed
step to
gratification.
the delayed gratification is yeah, exactly right. Nobody wants to delay gratification. Like if I could snap my fingers and be jacked right now, I probably would do it. I'm not gonna lie,
Right.
because there's definitely times I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want to eat this many calories. I don't want to get up and go outside and lift weights or whatever because I'm
Mhm.
tired. And uh, in the way that the world works now, a lot of people want things today.
Right.
And uh, when we feel like we're close to it or we can get close to it, whether it's by robbing or killing or stealing or whatever,
Yeah.
uh, most people take that opportunity to do it. And like thinking about that Nipsey, uh, like, uh, that Nipsey, he was killed by somebody that was in his set. It's like somebody watched him get too far up. Like you took the path that was like, okay, gradual. Start your own clothing store and start getting into real estate. And that take time, right? And somebody had to have seen you grow from a seed and get to the point where you're at and be able to say, okay, hey, you've gone too far, and then let me take you out because
Yeah.
you're
It's
doing
crazy,
something
right?
different than what we're all about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's like you got to walk a fine balance with success. Like you have to learn how to be successful without being too successful in the eyes of people. You know what I mean? To where you start
Right.
making people feel insecure.
Hmm.
So, otherwise they're gonna try to impede your progress because it's like, oh, okay, maybe he'll take my girl, or stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
people think like that. Like, oh man, I should have that car. I could do what he does. Like, why can't I have
Hmm.
that? So, yeah, it's like you got to walk that fine line, which is sad, but it's just the reality. And yeah, I think we have to change the mindset of these youth, man. Like you say, like they have to learn delayed gratification. They have to learn, like, enjoy the process instead of just getting the reward. You know what I mean?
Right.
Have fun playing basketball. Don't worry about the so-called accolades,
Hmm.
because once you get the little accolade, you'll enjoy it for about a week, and then it'll go away. The joy will go away. You want the next thing.
Hmm.
But if you enjoy the process, you'll always be having fun. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Exactly. Because the process is the fun. You're already there. You're
right,
already in that. You've there's the instant gratification in just doing the process.
right. So, like, have you ever had like family members or something that you were trying to talk to and say, "Hey, man, don't do that. Just take your time, man. The rewards will come."
I
And
haven't, but I have three younger brothers, and I try to teach them whenever we talk. I try to teach them something along those lines where it's like just like put in the work, and like thankfully they all play sports, right? So I think they really understand the idea of like delayed gratification,
right,
right? They're in the gym, they work out, then they have their games, and it's almost like the games are your test, and the
right,
gym
right.
is your study material.
Yeah, yeah,
And like you 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 want to work towards getting to those games, and then the game is your test, and you do your performance, and then you can say, okay, hey, I did good here, I did bad here, let me improve on these three things or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like them performing in the game is their reward. Like,
Yeah. And thinking about it now, it's like I think everybody should have some type of like a not really maybe not a sport, but just something that some type of activity or hobby that is social in one way or another, where you're interacting with other people. Because um like growing up for myself, like I feel like I've did myself a disservice of not being on a sports team, because I see how with sports or those type of environments, like you build that camaraderie as a
right,
team. Like you're not just in the gym by yourself. You're with your teammates, and you're working out together, and then you play your games together. And I don't think any of my brothers are actually into the whole gang lifestyle, like,
right,
even
right.
though they might live near Compton, right? That near that type of environment, but it's not
Mhm.
like they dropped out of high school to pursue that lifestyle.
Right.
So I feel like sports really allowed them to sort of
Yeah.
stay focused and out of that whole environment.
Yeah, I think everybody, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be sports, but they have to find some activity that consumes them to where, like, oh, I
Yeah.
love doing this. I'm going
Hmm.
to spend my free time progressing my skill, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, I love making YouTube videos or
Right.
painting or whatever. Like, I think like
Yeah.
for me, and kind of like video games when I was younger, and now it's like programming. Like these things keep me busy.
Right. And I think that's it. That's it too. It's like, how do you stay busy, right? How do you stay busy enough to not just busy for busy's sake, but busy to get towards a goal,
Right.
right? Because there's definitely been times where I'll be like, all right, I've got an hour to kill. Let me play, video games, or let me watch TV. Like, how do you make the progress fun? I mean,
Like
yeah,
kind of take that hour and put it into something productive. Or,
right. Like because for me growing up, I didn't have access to the internet, and well, wouldn't say I didn't have access to the internet. I didn't have access to high speed internet.
right.
My internet was a lot more dial up, and like when my mother needed the phone, I was off of the computer, and the computer was
Right.
upstairs in my mom's room, away from like it wasn't like I had free access to it.
Right.
So a lot of my time was spent reading, and like reading and reading and reading and reading and reading. And I could read a book in maybe like 2 weeks tops. I wasn't the
Mhm.
best reader, but I like it was almost like I spent all my free time just reading.
Right.
And for that I was like quick witted and more so like an asshole with because I thought I was smarter than everybody else, but
Right.
it was more so just like I had confidence behind it. We're like,
Mhm.
oh, I know this word and I understand this, or I've read this book, and I think like for me, like that was the progress came with, okay, I finished this book. It was a great read. Let me pick up another one, and it was
Right.
like just going from book to book to book to book to book. Um, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah,
I think
I hmm?
if you something you enjoy, like you enjoy reading. Like we have to be honest
Yeah,
with ourselves. Like I don't really care for like like the tip. Like I don't care for the typical competitive sports in terms of me playing them.
right.
Like watching football, but me being a
You wanna play
football
it.
player,
Yeah.
that's not my forte, but programming is. So it's kind of like be honest with yourself and do something that you really like that
Mm-hmm.
has career prospects. Like me recently, like in terms of studying programming, I get kind of bored with the regular web pages, like
Mm-hmm.
CRUD web pages. So let me get into 3JS and do something a little different. Like
Right.
we got to kind of use our mind to find something that's stimulating in that arena of what we like. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean?
But
Like,
then,
give me
but,
one. So you like, say for example, like how you like, or you say you want to exercise more. It doesn't have to be the typical. Let me just get on the treadmill and start running, or let me just take a walk. Like maybe you could join like a little basketball league, or you know what I mean?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I hear you. It's because then you it's almost like two birds with one stone. Is your
yeah,
exercise, here's your socialization or
right,
social aspect, right? You combine the two. And I think that's a very good point, right? It's like what that goes into the whole like what works for me might not necessarily work for you.
right,
And something that came to mind with while you were talking is we want to bring uh we want to like we want to bring let me think about what I'm trying to say. Give me a second. So
mhm,
in our community we understand that like you know we're, there's different boroughs and ghettos, stuff like that. How do
right,
you bring that mentality of find something that you love to do and and how do you expose somebody in an impoverished community like
mhm,
for example public schools, right? When I went to public
right,
school, we didn't really have access to computers. I think we had access to like laptops, but they were really old MacBooks. I mean, like the old white MacBooks. I don't know
mhm,
which ones they were, but they weren't necessarily fast. They were Macs. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but these machines weren't. It wasn't something that I could just pick up and start programming with, right?
right,
So if somebody wanted to get into an environment like if they're impoverished, how do you go about I guess how would somebody that has very little start to get into programming and b into an environment that supports them? That's what I'm trying to say.
right.
Because if I wanted to get into programming as a kid and I didn't have access to the tools that I have now, what would your suggestions for me to be, or what would your suggestions be for somebody like
Like,
me?
how I look at it, like, if somebody really wants something, they can find a way to make it happen. So, for example, okay, you may not have a computer at home, but does your school library have one? You know what I mean? Go
Yeah.
to the library, or maybe like, sometimes maybe your church, they say, oh, yeah, we need a website done. And then you could go to them and say, yeah, I would like to learn that. Like,
Hmm.
do y'all have a computer I can use to work on y'all's website? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Search for, just about everybody has a phone. They have access to the internet. You can say,
Right.
reach out to different people like, hey, like, how do I get started? I don't really have the resources. Like, what's crazy is you can even program on your phone. Like, you can play around with like little online IDEs and run code on your phone. It may not be the most comfortable experience, but
Right.
you could do it. And I believe now you can even hook up like little mini keyboards to your phone. So,
Yeah, I think so. I've heard of that. I've heard of that. I just think that uh, when it when it comes to especially nowadays, right? Like with social media and the way things are now, there's so much push for your attention.
you're
It's
right.
like kids nowadays probably have it really hard, and because there's the TikTok generation and YouTube and Instagram and all that stuff, and all that's pushing for your attention. and there's only so much time in the day, right? So how do you take the time to find something that you love to do, then research it? Like it's almost like it has to hook you. Like it has to hook you a lot, and that hook has to be stronger than any of the other tools out there, or any of the other stuff out there, because you easily. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody had a hard time focusing on what they wanted to truly do, because they're being pulled in so many different directions with Instagram and
Right.
Snapchat and everything else.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to us being accountable. Like we say, like, okay, I'm spending a little too much time on this. Let me get back and do this, because I get pulled into TikTok and Instagram and all of that. But then I'm kind of like, man, I'm wasting time. Let me go do some programming or something. You
Yeah,
just you gotta kind of like predefine your activities. Like these are the productive activities, and these are the productive activities I like to do. So let me kind of rotate them so I don't get too bored with any one of them.
right.
And, allow yourself some time to do TikTok and Instagram, but you also got to pull back and say like, oh, I'm spending a little too much time on this,
Yeah,
or make those social media platforms a part of what you're doing. Like, okay, I love filming videos, I love art, so let me get a camera and film myself drawing. It's kind of like what
mm,
we're doing with the coding thing. Like, where we love coding and we're putting it on film and putting it on those platforms. Like
yeah,
the same tools that could be used as immense time wasters can be used to make you a millionaire. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I hear you. Yeah, man.
Terrence joined.
That got disconnected for a second.
Oh, okay, no problem. But yeah, man, I was just saying that um, like the we I think nowadays you have to pull back from uh, from like smartphones and tablets and internet culture, because
Yeah,
it's they're like super time wasters. I don't know when Apple iPhone started doing this, but it started to show like what not just what apps and how much time I spent on these applications, but like
mm,
what websites and how long I was visiting, like how
right,
long out of a day or out of a week I visit website A versus website B, and it was like, wow, I spent this much time on YouTube. Like
right,
I spent this much time on this website and doing this and doing that. It's like, wow, I didn't realize that. Like because like passively we don't realize it, but
yeah,
in
yeah,
it adds up. It's like
right, right,
going out to eat at a fast food restaurant, right? You don't see the money going, especially when you're using debit. But
yeah,
over time, like in a week, like calculate that total, see how much money you're spending. It's like,
right,
man, like I spent $100 this week on fast food. I spent $50 on fast food. It adds up, man.
yeah, yeah. Like, do you feel like all of that time on YouTube, for example, is wasted, or like, do you feel it's okay since you handle your responsibilities? Like,
Um, I think it's a mixture of both. It's more
mhm,
like I know I'm handling my business. And I know not all of it is necessarily like, because for me, I've got like two monitors or whatever,
right,
and so I sort of have it just playing in the background, right? But man, like uh, I've just noticed that there's like from the hours of like let's say 5 to 6 or from 6 to 7,
mm,
like I shouldn't be like that just shows me like, okay, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep,
right,
there's a screen in my face, like
yeah,
and I didn't get to that, like it's not like I looked at the app and said, oh wow, from this time to this time, clearly I woke up here, I looked at YouTube here, I started going to sleep here, and I had YouTube playing here. It's like, when am I never in front of a screen?
Right.
It's like it's like I have to figure out that disconnect and sort of find I guess peace of mind away from a screen. And that's just my personal take on it. It's like
Yeah, right. But you know what's crazy is, with the talk of the metaverse, that's going to draw people even more into the screen.
uh,
And it's like,
okay,
I'm thinking like, society's almost going to get to a point where we have like robots taking care of our body, but we're jacked into this world. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I saw a meme about that, where it was like when somebody had gone from the future into the past because they wanted to go on some grand adventure, but in that version of the past or whatever, the no, I think they went from the past, they went from present into the future. Sorry, and then in the future, robots they put people into these like pods, almost like in the Matrix,
Yeah.
right? And the
Yeah.
Matrix, and then they keep they hook you up to this machine, and you're able to fulfill all of your dreams and wildest desires and all that stuff, and live a infinite amount of lifetimes, and they keep your body alive for you.
Right.
And it's like, wow,
That's
like
what it seems like we're headed.
I wouldn't get like too crazy into that, but like it does feel like a lot of these apps and services nowadays are like built to just like, oh, just deliver your groceries to you. You never have to leave your house.
Right.
uh Deliver meals to you. Will never you never have to leave your home. To you never have to learn how to cook. uh
Right.
like deliver maybe not so much like delivering the whole like Peloton bike, because still you have to like ride on it and stuff, but like I would say, like, does everything have to be smart? Do you need a smart oven? Do you need a smart stove? Do you need a smart microwave?
Right.
Do you need a smart, like, even maybe go so far as like, do you need a smart TV? I
You know
mean,
what's kind of interesting was Prince, the singer Prince. He said
mhm,
something interesting. He said something like, it's okay to use computers, but don't let the computers use you. Or I think he said something along those lines. It's okay to use the computers, but don't let the computers use you. It's like we're getting so ingrained with this technology that we're
right?
almost merging with it.
Yeah,
Like
it's
how many
like
people freak out if you take away their phone? How many of these kids?
I would, man, I, I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of like uh of of always having my phone in my hand, or always being like looking at my phone. Like, even if I'm like watching TV, I've got my phone next to me,
You're right.
and I tried to think back at, so like, when was it, like, when did I get to this point where like my phone is next to me when I wake up, my phone is next to me when I go to sleep, my phone is
Right.
next to me in the car, my phone is it's a part of me. It's almost
Yeah.
like if my phone was just an extra appendage,
Right.
like
Right.
it's just there. And like, how do you separate yourself? How do you like tear that away from you?
You
Like,
know, it's crazy too. Like, the phone is a digital, it's a fake fabricated world, but we're spending more time in that than in reality. It's like we don't want to be in reality anymore. Let's escape and go
right,
to this
it's
fantasy.
escapism. It's escapism. Yeah, yeah. And it's a shame. It's a shame that people can't. I feel like the more connected we are, the less connected we are.
Right.
Maybe I've said that before, but it's like, to me, it's like it's becoming the truth, because even though like I can be reached by a text, it's almost a hindrance, not a hindrance, but like anybody can reach anybody with a text message, or like on Discord or Instagram or
Right.
WhatsApp or whatever. But then it becomes something of just like, okay, if somebody could reach out to me and they wanted to, they could.
Right.
It's less about like if they're able to, and more so if they choose to and if they want to.
Right.
So it's almost like, how do I say it? If somebody doesn't want to be involved in your world or connected to you in any way, it you could they could just ignore you,
Yeah.
and because that text message now becomes personal, because that text message is now on my phone. My phone is my own little world, and if I don't want you in my own little world, I could just block you.
Right.
Then I shut you out.
Do you feel like it's making everybody like self-absorbed, like maybe some mini kings or something? Like we have our own little kingdoms, which is the phone, and we're catering everything to our liking, and we're oblivious of everybody else.
I could see that. I could see that. Like, like with YouTube and Instagram, like there's that algorithm that's sort of tailored to your own personal interests and the videos that you watch and the videos that you like and your watch history and all that stuff. But like, because it's almost like your own personal television.
Mhm.
Um,
Like,
yeah, I don't know.
what do you think? What do you think's the effect of people only being exposed to like a self feedback loop, like they're only being shown stuff that they already like? You know what I mean?
Oh, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I feel like people that if you want to believe something, right?
Hmm.
It's I think back in the day it was more so like you have to like just sort of you it's almost like if you wanted to believe something back in the day, you may have been like, things are disconnected, right? There's less of, oh yeah, the sky is falling,
Hmm.
and then like that would be one in a 100th person. I guess you could, let's put that number out there just for number's sake. But nowadays it's like one person can say the sky is falling. That tweet or message could get thousands of likes, and people comment and say, "Yes, the sky is falling. The sky is falling." It's like, it's almost
Hmm.
like you can get that confirmation bias just by putting out a tweet or putting out something on a platform, and somebody reading it and liking it and then responding to it. Like, there's layers to that feedback loop, right? So it's like, one
Right.
is putting something out there, two is getting a response back, three if that response is positive, and four if that's being liked by people. All those metrics can be used to just ingrain this this thought, whether it's good or bad, right? Like, I feel like in today's day and age, social media is hurting us more than it is helping.
Right.
Because I'm guilty of, like, I have terrible eye contact. Like, I just don't like it. I don't like the feeling of eye contact.
Hmm.
Like, if I'm talking with somebody, I'd rather look at my phone or look to the wall and have the conversation with the wall. Like, like
Right.
if we were talking in real life, I'd be talking like this. This is how I'd be talking to you right now, and I feel
Right.
comfortable talking to you like this. But I'm talking to you, but I'm looking at this wall.
Right.
Um, and I feel like what has happened is something about that connection of me looking at somebody in their eyes and almost being vulnerable to a sense. I can escape from that. I'm
Hmm.
trying to loop back into the whole. I'm trying to loop back to the original topic. It's like, with social media, there's different levels to this, and we haven't reached that apex yet. But there's definitely levels to this that we don't understand, and it's hurting us more than it's helping us.
Right.
Because, and I'll give one final example, and I'll pass the mic back to you.
Okay.
I went to a holiday dinner, and I was with family, and it was a birthday party. I went to a holiday birthday party, and I'm with family that I haven't seen in a while. And instead of us catching up like we would do back in the early '90s, early 2000s, everybody was on their phone.
Right. Yep.
Nobody was talking to each other.
Yeah,
Everybody was in their own little world. Someone was
exactly.
playing dominoes. Instead of you hearing the clang of the dominoes and give me a
Yeah,
nickel, give me 10, give me 15, or whatever.
right, right.
It was tap 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 tap. Tap. Somebody
Yeah,
watching YouTube over here. Somebody have the Oculus Rift going on over there, and it's
yeah.
cool. But we are so disconnected.
It's like y'all could have just stayed at home and did this.
Yeah, yeah,
Man, I think
exactly.
once they start introducing more digital scarcity, then people maybe start backing away. So, like the NFTs, to
Yeah,
where, okay, say for example, like the thing about the cool thing about digital is once you produce the work, you can duplicate as many times as you want for
right.
free. There's no additional cost. But imagine like they programmed it to where, okay, you produce this JPEG and you can only be downloaded by 100 people before you have to pay more money for it to be able to be downloaded some more. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, they're
just the
paywalling.
introduction of digital scarcity. I think that'll probably kick some people off being so attached to this digital world.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what was it with soccer? Right, soccer two was trying to introduce NFTs into its uh, own little universe where you could pay for an NPC to look like you.
Right,
It's like why would I want an NPC to look like me? Another
right,
game, I forget which one it was called, but they were doing you could get cosmetics like helmets and stuff, and that helmet would have a specific like uh, number code like zero zero
yeah,
one or whatever, and you would be the sole owner of that helmet with that barcode. Right? It's
right,
like, dude,
so,
it's a helmet. It
right,
doesn't. It's as soon as you turn the. It's not like something that you could physically touch, right? Like
right,
I can touch this. It's mine.
yeah,
A helmet with a barcode, like unless that helmet is going to be delivered to my house, right? Like in real life, it doesn't matter to me. Because like imagine if the game goes like if a new version of the game comes out, does the NFC
working.
get carried over, or is it just
Right,
stuck there in that old game?
exactly. Like when people are actually paying a lot of money for these so-called unique digital items, like oh, here's a digital painting, like digital a JPEG that only you can own. It's like what is they're just introducing scarcity to force people to pay up. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like I see where it's going, but I don't really like the direction of it.
Hmm.
But these companies they got to make money, so they have to introduce these new schemes, like
Yeah,
sort of like how everything's on a subscription model.
yeah. You have to introduce problems to make more money.
Exactly.
Create a problem to you create a problem to solve you create a problem to provide a solution.
Right. Like diamonds aren't even really rare. It's just like the supply is controlled. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? The value's up. So it almost makes me think. They had like this conspiracy theory out there with Nikola Tesla. Like supposedly he found out a way to get like free energy and limited energy, but they kind of the big companies took that research and they hid it so that they could keep everybody on this paradigm of we have to use oil.
Electricity.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like because if you have to pay me for it, then you're under my control. Like I
Right.
control this supply of resources that you need. But if you
Right.
have an unlimited amount, then I don't have control over you. So
Yeah.
just from what I'm seeing, what they're doing in the digital world, it makes me think like, have they done this in the real world? I think they have. Like, maybe not with the free energy, but like, we're not moving to better forms of energy because such and such is invested in coal and oil. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
No, you're right. Yeah. It's almost like why I heard something the other day where it was like self-help gurus, right? They don't want you to
yeah,
get better because they keep making money
right,
off of you know, your they off your if whether it's YouTube your views, right?
Mhm.
Or because if you got better, if if they could give you the answer in a 10-minute video and solve your
Right.
problem, boom, you're done. You never need to come back to their channel. You're
Yeah.
fine. But it's almost like a string and carrot type of technique, right? You're
Yeah.
always coming back to that channel. It's like I've got
Right.
the answers to this, I've got the answers to that, or maybe even like uh, those like bigger names like Tony Robbins and stuff like that. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to slander them or anything like that, but it's like they make the most money off people that are repeat uh,
Yeah.
customers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because like
Yeah. So yeah.
if you could get better and then never come back, they had to replace you.
Right. It kind of goes back to that point. The Bible says, "Learn to be content," because that's how these people get you. They make you feel insufficient. Like, realistically, we're living better than 99.9% of humanity throughout history. Even kings back then, they didn't have all the luxuries we have, but
Right.
we're still unhappy. Like, we're not good enough. You know what I mean? Like, we get food easy. We're not in danger of wild animals killing us, but that's not good enough. We still need something else. And a lot of this, like I said, is due to the media. What I learned about a lot of these gurus is they're really just marketers who, you know, they know the technique of making you feel dissatisfied with yourself and selling you the solution. Like, you'll never be that perfect person that they're selling you. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Even with fitness, like, you look on the magazine, like, oh man, this dude has like an 8-pack. Maybe I can read this magazine and get that. And you spend years reading these magazines, you never get those results. But it's not real because he's photoshopped, or maybe he's on some kind of like performance enhancing.
Right.
You know that YouTuber Cali Muscle, like, he's been hospitalized recently. Um,
What?
oh yeah, like, a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, a month ago, and he even admitted, like, yeah, I was on steroids, but like before he would tell you, no, I'm completely natural, and the naive, maybe they'll believe him and like, okay, he's natural, so I can look like that too. And
Right.
then you're doing all these exercises, buying these little supplements, you never look like that.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like selling a fantasy that never ends. You know what I mean? And maybe I think that's where the metaverse is kind of going, like giving people that eternal fantasy. And what's weird is, like, where's that going to take society if everybody's like trapped in a digital world? Like, who's going to take care of the real world?
Yeah, I don't know. Especially with everybody quitting, everybody quitting
Right.
their jobs nowadays. It's like, man, nobody wants to work. Everybody just wants to disassociate themselves from the whole. That's what I'm looking for. Like, disassociate themselves from the real world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like eventually, like the train's gonna come to a stop.
Yeah, it has to, because like nobody's producing the resources in the real world if everybody's kind of like, it's almost like a digital dope if you think about it. Like, people take drugs to escape. So people got their headsets on, and they're in this fantasy world all day. Who's
Mm.
going to be taking care of the real world? Like, at least with video games, there's a clear distinction. Like, okay, this is entertainment. I played it all day, but I was
Hmm.
wrong.
Hmm.
With Facebook and all these companies are encouraging you, like, you need to be in the metaverse for work. You need to be in the
Yeah.
metaverse all day. It's not wrong. This is good. You need to be here. Like, how is that gonna affect
Right.
people? You know what I mean?
I wasn't born in the metaverse, right? I was born in the real world.
Right.
Yeah. And I think people need to start learning you have to learn to separate the two.
Yeah.
Like, separate yourself from that Instagram account or Facebook, or um, just separate yourself from the outcome, the end result, right?
Yeah.
Like learn that this is just a profile.
Right.
Like, without me logging into it, it's nothing. Like, without me, this thing is nothing.
Right.
And like Prince said, like, learn to use the computer. Don't let the computer use you. Like,
Right.
without me, this computer is nothing. Without
Right.
me, this editor is nothing. This leak code account is nothing. This LinkedIn account is nothing. Like it comes down to like you're the master. You're not the servant to the
Right.
computer. It's the other way around. And you can't let these corporations say like you need a Facebook, you need a MySpace. You don't need it. You don't need any of it, really.
Right.
Like if I wanted to work on a farm and not be associated with any of this, I probably could do it.
Right.
The only reason I say probably is because I'm not sure how the ins and outs of working on a farm is. I'm sure there's probably some form of technology, maybe. So I don't want to discredit it completely, but yeah, man, like I think a lot of us need to start learning. Like, let me disassociate myself from
Yeah.
the internet and stop defining myself by these things
Right.
that I technically am the ruler or the master of.
Right. So we gotta at least make an effort ourselves to take a step back, or else
Yeah.
this will consume you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it happens quickly. And it happens quickly and subtly too. I didn't realize until I think this conversation. Like I'm thinking back, it's like, man, like when did I become so, or when did things become so, I guess, ingrained in tech?
Yeah.
Right, like even when I get off this podcast, like I've got that smart TV downstairs, I've got my Sonos
Right.
speaker, I've got this phone here. It's like, man,
Yeah.
and it's not like I, I can I can easily I don't want to say I can't, because I'm sure there is a way to like completely disconnect myself, but it's not like I can easily disconnect myself
Mm. Right.
because and I'm gonna cut off my little rant here because I feel like I've been speaking for a while now. Um, but it's like, we're so used to smart TVs, we're so used to YouTube, we're so used to instant access to this information. How do you dial it back?
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think you just gotta just leave it alone, and kind of like make an effort to get off of it. Almost like it's like a soda. You know what I mean? Like you keep on drinking it, it's not good for your health, and it's addictive. But you just have to make an effort to say, today I'm gonna do something different. But
Mm,
it kind of has its tentacles on most people because it's so comfortable. Like you're just at home. Oh yeah, go ahead and get your little dopamine hit. See if you got any new notifications on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. Oh. Oh man, I feel like you're talking to me right now because I'm definitely just like, who's that?
Right.
I got a text message. Who's that from? Yeah,
And what is it? What do those little notifications mean? Like, can you think of
yeah.
a notification you got from 5 years ago that mean anything today? Like, a random person like my message.
Wow. 5 years ago, that would be 2016. Um, I'd be
I can't think of it.
27. I can't think of anything that's like that stands out, and I think that is like a really good example of like the importance of notifications, right? Because a notification is just that, just a notification.
Right.
It's not something that stands out in my mind or your mind. Like it's all gray, meaning that like no one notification from a couple years ago or even last week
Mhm.
or even a day ago stands out to me, unless it
Right.
was like unless it was something like I got $1,000 or I got my stimulus check
Right.
or it has to be something super rare. It has to be something different that stands out. But other than that, if it doesn't stand out, it's just gray. It's just a notification. It doesn't matter.
You know what's so crazy? You building software, you know, it's just a thing in the code, like a counter, like equals like plus one. You know, once
Mm-hmm.
somebody clicks the button, and that's what we're building our life around chasing. Like somebody clicking a little digital button,
Yeah.
and it's sending a increasing number to our screen. Like that's what we're celebrating. Like, oh, I got 100,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think back on your life, like what are we spending on? Like chasing other people clicking a digital button? Like
Yeah.
we have actual memories with these people? Like that's another point, man. Like how we're interacting with each other is weird. Like a lot of this social media, we're not even like Instagram or whatever, TikTok, people are not even interacting with each other. Like TikTok, you post a video and people watching and maybe thumbs it up and maybe comment.
Yeah.
Maybe you comment back, but it's not like a back and forth dialogue. Same with Instagram. So like we're having a generation of people that aren't even having basic social conversations with each other.
Yeah. It's or I guess the conversation is changing, right? Because
Right.
it's almost like slang, right? Slang changes, right? And people say certain like people don't say um, that's fly or that's gnarly. No one says that
Mhm.
anymore, right? But back in the day, it was that was fresh, that was cool, that was fly, like that. All those terms used to mean like that something was cool. Nowadays, it's like, oh, it's litty, bro. Like it's
Right.
just the slang changes, and I feel like the conversation of the way people converse or the way people talk to one another changes as well. And that might be I mean, that might be an obvious, but it's like it's not so much the slang that's changing, but it's the way that people communicate. What's your IG? What's your Snap? What's your like? Instead of like, hey, can I get your number? I like to take you out sometime. Let's go, or not even that. Hey, do you want to go grab some coffee? It's what's your IG? How many followers do you have? What's your Snapchat? What's your Snap streak like? Like
But you know, like
the dynamics changed.
right. But you know, people aren't once they get that Instagram or Snapchat, is like, are they really communicating with each other? Like, you know what I mean? And is that a sufficient alternative for memory? Say, like, you know, back in the day before the internet became super prevalent, it's like you and your homeboys playing a video game together, sitting in the same room. Now
Yeah,
it's like everybody's in their own house, not together. You know, they're playing the game, but they're not literally like together forming a memory. It's like,
right.
uh, do you really remember that? Like, oh, I remember playing Call of Duty with my homeboy. He was at his house, I was at my house.
Uh, I would say okay. I'm gonna play devil's advocate right here. I would say yeah. There's definitely
Mm,
a few people because I grew up on 360 and I played a ton of Call of Duty. I forget how many
right.
games. About like 3 or 4 Call of Duty games for the 360. Um, but there was definitely like my like close. Like I want to consider them close friends. That I grew up. I grew up. Like we used to
Mm,
play games a lot, right? I mean, like we played 4 or 5 years worth of games. I think, yeah, like like 5 versions of Street Fighter, 3 or 2 different versions of Call of Duty. But I the point I'm trying to make is like we bonded over those
right.
gaming sessions,
Yeah.
and um, I I have really strong memories of
Okay.
that influenced my who I am today. That influenced my personality.
Mm,
And even though we're not as connected as we once were, right? We've grown apart since then. I can definitely look back on those moments in my life and be like, yeah, those are some good memories. Like those
right.
are friends.
Do you feel like those experiences would have been richer if y'all were like, say, able
Oh
to
yeah,
meet in person? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely. Like if we were
Mm,
like just chilling at at like one person's house and like just hanging out and like you're shooting the shit, I think it would have definitely sunken in or like ingrained themselves into my
Right.
mind a lot more. Yeah, like and I've read about this in like on Reddit and stuff where people will talk about how they've had friends, that they've
Mm.
met through Xbox Live, and even though they might have not like physically been like together, like,
Right. Right.
but it was the late night sessions playing Halo. It was
Mm.
the scrimmages in COD and
Right.
midnight release and going through the campaign together, and then one day one person doesn't sign on anymore,
Right.
or the clan breaks up, and then there's that you're climbing up to that high, and then there's the peak, and then there's the crash, and
Right.
it never comes back.
Yeah.
And like
That's
to me, I feel that. I feel that
right.
like you build all these memories. It's almost like high school for some people. Like
Mm.
some people go through high school, and if they're a part of a club, or they have their friends that they grew up through high school, they go from middle school, they enter that awkward teen phase, and then they come out, you know, going into adulthood. But
Right.
those all those memories that you make in that 4 year pocket, especially in like the yearbooks, the messages that people leave each other.
Mm.
Yeah, man, like all that. It now not so now it's a little bit different, but I can still see how you can make those connections. But I
Yeah.
don't think that they're as strong as
Right.
genuinely being next to somebody and experiencing life with
Right.
somebody.
Like in a way, like you say, you still can be cool and friends, like real friends with people that you've met online. I've met a lot of cool people. I met, what I'm saying, you online, a couple of other homeboys, but it's also like, like you say, it's a lot easier to disconnect too. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like a lot of those friends that you met in some of those games, they just disappear and they never updated you when they have a. It's easy to. They just got to log on. Hey, what's up? How you been?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I hear you. It's easy, and I think it's easy to, and it's easy not to. And with the
yeah,
point where I'm going with that is like I've personally decided to just for next year to go dark, and I'm not trying to make this next topic about myself, but I understand that like uh, that personally sometimes it's best to just take time away from this social media, these applications and stuff like that.
right,
Disconnect yourself from everything, right? Like, hey, I'm taking a year off, or I'm going dark. You know, it might not look like I'm here, but I might be around.
right,
And then that just leaves the door open to if somebody wants to reach me, they can reach me.
yeah,
And but it's not like I'm gonna shout out from the rooftops, I'm leaving social media, I'm leaving Instagram, I'm leaving
yeah,
Facebook, because there's some, I don't know if you've seen that, right? People will say, I'm
yeah,
leaving
yeah,
Facebook, I'm done with this, I'm done with this
yeah.
application.
Add me if
uh
you want to stay in contact or something. Like yeah,
yeah.
they kind of they a lot of people do that. The people that do that, they do that for attention. Like
Right.
who really messes with me? Hit me up now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
They're on 2 weeks later.
yeah. but
Change
but but
my guys.
I feel like why not take the step back, right?
Yeah,
Take the step back and really like almost like do like a retreat, or like a not like a vow of silence, but like take that time to really do some like inner like like something that's gonna nourish you versus keep yourself distracted. Like
yeah,
that's my whole personal reason of like going dark, as I call it, where
right.
like, you know what, like maybe I'm just gonna take this next year for myself. not
Right.
so much for like, oh, whoever cares about me is gonna hit me up, blah blah blah. Like, I'm just doing it because I feel like there's things that I could change if I wasn't so distracted by the Facebook, by the Instagram, by the whatever,
Right.
and almost like work towards detaching from the phone life.
Right. Man, you kind of realize that the internet ain't going anywhere. Whenever you're
Right.
ready, just pick it back up and hop back on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no one's forcing you to be here, and I think like that's the gift and the curse, right? Like, no one's forcing anybody to use the phone. No one's forcing people
Right.
to use the internet, but it's there, and it's free. It doesn't hurt.
Right. Yeah, man. I think that's a good point to end on, man. We almost at like an hour and 45 minutes. We're like 10 minutes shy of
Oh
this.
my
So
gosh! Wow. Okay.
went pretty
Yeah.
it was good podcast.
Yeah. Good one.
All right, we'll catch y'all later.
Peace, people.